row here. So we have Alex Peck. He is the founder partner at Dragonfly Capital Partners, which he co-founded with Mr. Do Feng, who's actually the founder of one of the oldest venture capital firms in China. They're backed by leading firms, you guys probably don't know, but they're backed by leading firms in the financial crypto and venture space, companies like Bitmain, OKX, OB, as well as Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia, Polychain, etc. The list goes on. More importantly, Alex was the head of crypto at Bain Capital prior to this. Next, you have my good friend, Brian Chang. We go pretty far back at Collaborative Fund. So they're an early stage venture firm. They're in San Francisco and New York that manage about $250 million AUM. They've invested in crowd favorites like Lyft, Kickstarter, Reddit, Blue Bottle Coffee, and SoCal here in Seoul. Brian has been leading, I guess it's safe to say you've been leading, their crypto interests. More recently, they've done investments in Algorand, Starkware, Space and more. And lastly, we have Michael Arrington. We can probably skip him because you guys know him. No, just kidding. No. You know him as the founder of TechCrunch. Prior to this, he founded Crunch Fund and invested in companies like Uber, Airbnb, Pinterest. I didn't know this, but Michael was named Time Magazine's world's 100 most influential people at one point, and what you guys didn't know is he's actually practiced in law, so he went to Stanford Law School. Perfect. Cool. And me, my name is Alex Chen. I'm one of the founders and partners at Hashed. Hashed is one of the leading crypto assets venture firm here in Korea, and I guess sort of in San Francisco. Perfect. So we're going to dig right in.
Hashed like the firm in Korea?
The firm? The firm. I can't say that myself, but if you can say that for me.
Yeah. I actually didn't know there were other investors here at all. I thought you had you're like the Samsung of crypto investors.
There's lots of other wonderful investors here in Korea. I'm going to start fairly broad, and we're going to drill into some interesting nuggets here. First of all, this panel was most specifically, and the organizers asked me to do this, venture capitalists who were in traditional venture capital, now focused on crypto capitalists. So can we just go down the line? Why are you looking at crypto today?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Crypto, so I've been in VC for 5 years, between Hong Kong, San Francisco, and a few other countries. It's quite simple. I think crypto is the most important application of the internet, and one that is possibly more important and larger in terms of value accrual than all previous applications of the internet that came before it. So not going into crypto all the way, I think at this point would be like if you were in 1993 and you were really into nanotechnology or something and you missed this whole internet thing. So I think it's one of the most important things in technology to be in.
I guess for me, probably similar reasons, but also I think I'm still at a traditional VC firm, and we still invest in non-crypto stuff, and I still look at non-crypto a little bit. But after looking at crypto, we're kind of getting into crypto. I think this is probably the most exciting technology that I think my generation can take advantage of, or at least take the wave of, which I think is kind of what Alex Peck is talking. So I just had to jump on it as well. And
yeah. So actually, while we're on this topic, you guys have just.
What do you mean?
I'll come right to you right after this. No, we're gonna come right back. No, we're on this topic. I want you to highlight this dedicated.
I have a really good answer to it. Now you never know.
I'll come right back. No. Can we just touch on Collaborative's new dedicated fund? Do you have a particular thesis there that you guys are operating on?
Yes, I think we've been investing in kind of 5 different areas: consumer, fintech, kids, etc. And then now we are actually launching or closing the crypto dedicated venture capital fund. So we're investing long term for crypto or blockchain technology companies, primarily based in the US. And we decided to actually just formalize the efforts so that we can have LPs who are more dedicated for crypto versus not. And thankfully we got a very exciting institutional LP set, like endowment funds as well as pension funds. So that's
if you invest in 5 areas and you included enterprise, consumer,
no, we didn't. Yeah,
crypto, is there anything you don't invest in?
Yeah, we invest everything.
Yeah, so you just so there's 5 important areas that cover everything.
Basically, I guess.
How much of your time is on crypto?
I would say 80+%.
Yeah.
And Mike, again, on the same idea, but you've actually been in the Bay Area forever, right? And you spent a ton of time. Yes. Right, you had Crunch Fund, right? And then now you're a dedicated.
Yeah. So I love being a venture capitalist because it was much more fast-paced than any other job I'd have. Crypto puts VC to shame. the frequency with which the economy changes, and you have to change your strategy, it's like, I was gonna say it's keeping me young, but let me ask you a question. Recently, I was meeting with a prominent investor in San Francisco, who I won't say her name, but it's Dobie Wong, right? But we all know Dobie. And Dobie said that I am too old to be in crypto. And I'm 49 years old. And I took offense, of course. But I've been talking to people here, and you mentioned your generation, and I don't know, how old are you, 30? Yeah, and so, am I too old to be in crypto?
No, well, my opinion is not.
But it sort of feels like it's a very young person's game, right? I don't know.
It's a very new.
And I used to be a young person, so I still feel like I'm a young person, but I don't know. But it's keeping me young. Like, this is awesome. And then also, I'm in it for the money, because I feel like you can make a lot more money in crypto a lot quicker than you can as a VC, and a VC is a great way to make money. And so, you guys apparently aren't in it for the money, but I am very much in it for the money as well. So,
yeah. I won't disagree. Right. And again, this is supposed to be a Silicon Valley panel, so what are you guys seeing in the Bay? What are the quality of projects like? Is it very different than what you're seeing in Asia? Can you comment on a couple of things you're seeing? Anybody?
I'll say that
Yeah.
the SEC has completely screwed up the market in the United States for tokens, and so there's a lot of equity deals and far fewer token deals. As a hedge fund, are you a hedge fund?
We're a venture fund.
Yeah, so we're a hedge fund, so it's really hard, right? If we're not liquid, it causes serious issues. So we will do equity, but like far smaller check size. I don't want to change. So what we're doing now is when there's fewer deals, we either pivot to Asia, which we did last year, or we get into liquid markets and start to trade.
What about the venture side?
We see definitely more and more equity deals, at least in the past like 3 to 6 months, than token deals. And that's one of the reasons we are venture capital funds, so that's what we are better at. So that's why we raise venture capital funds. We're not traders, or we don't know how to make just quick bucks, even though that's great for crypto. So that's one of the reasons we raise.
Are you guys seeing mostly like picks and shovel businesses, or they're like equity venture funds with the maybe we'll do tokens a little later type situation?
Probably both, but like lately more like picks and shovels.
I
And
feel like we have enough picks and shovels now, don't we? Like we have mini picks and mini shovels. Like I think it's time to start like buildings and stuff, right? So,
Well, I've noticed just generally in the U.S., the quality of projects and teams in the last 6 months has been higher than like the last 10 years combined. I guess maybe the last 9 years. You don't want to count Satoshi in that. But it's just you see like very senior engineers and product leaders and people who've started billion-dollar companies and things like that going into crypto lately, and that actually has probably increased rather than gone down as the prices have gone down. And they're across everything. I think they're across technological development. Like there's still layer 1 protocols that excite me. There's
really?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're maybe getting nearer to the end of it, but
how many layer 1 protocols have you invested in?
4 or 5.
How many winners can there be? 4 or 5?
I think there's going to be a lot of regional winners too, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of money to be made in the short run, but I don't see many apps yet.
is there any apps?
There's more operating systems than there are apps, because there are no apps that money.
There's a ton in Asia.
Really? That aren't gambling. You're excited about gaming, right? Which is something
I think gaming is a really important category, especially because we're more thinking consumer-focused type investments out here, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's just crossing that bridge is really hard. Connecting the dots.
When you talk about gaming, you're mostly talking about virtual goods, right?
A lot of that's there as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a play-to-earn category, so we're thinking about it. What about valuations? So I was just in the Bay. I was gone for most of last year. Now I come back. There's a ton of projects. They're still in the hundreds of millions. How are you guys feeling about that? Is it expensive? Is it okay? Is it coming down? Is it coming back up? Does it kind of track the market?
I can start, but at least for the private rounds that we've seen, it's not as reflective or as reflective as like public markets or publicly traded markets, but it still is reflective. And I think we're seeing better, at least valuations than probably like 6 months ago. Had a better quality team and engineers and product designers and product managers. So I think this is, in my opinion, the best time to invest.
Yeah, VCs are pretty slow moving, as Mike said. So typically private market valuations trail public market, whether it's public SaaS companies on the actual stock exchanges or liquid tokens by about 6 months. So we were seeing like astronomically priced deals, 6 to 8 months ago, because even as Bitcoin was at like 5,000 or 6,000. But now I think it's starting to cool quite a bit more. Certainly a lot of the capital sources for private rounds have dried up. And that means that there's less of these like frenzied auctions where people are just bidding each other up, which has been nice for us.
Mm-hmm. Mike, any comments there?
We were talking about this before. It seems like valuations came down and now they're creeping right back up. And even before, like a couple days ago, the price jump of Bitcoin. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just seeing a different slice of deals than you are.
I mean, I don't think they're ever going to be as low as they were in 2016 or 2015.
But like Paradigm is investing in these massive valuation deals, and they seem like super excited about it. So they see something I don't. Well, are they a venture fund too? It's like because when we make an investment decision, it's like we're comparing it versus investing in XRP or Bitcoin or whatever, and sometimes the decision is don't invest for us, right? But with you guys, it's sitting in dollars in your bank account. So So you need to deploy so you can raise the next fund and get the management fees up, right? Yeah, I hate that game.
I think the thinking is for venture funds that fiat denominated, it's about absolute return versus fiat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe that some of these protocols can be in the tens or hundreds, or over a long enough time frame, trillions price tag or valuation, then some of these entry prices make sense. So if we have a 5 or 10 year hold period, you can afford to be a little bit more flexible.
Okay, let me ask you a question. And you have to answer honestly.
Okay.
You're talking about 5-year return period. If you could, we probably can't because of the way that venture funds are set up. But if you could just take all the money you have under management right now and buy Bitcoin and then take 5 years off, would you make more money or less money than actively managing it the way you are? And you have to answer honestly. And the right answer is take the 5 years off, right?
I think we own a pretty good chunk of Bitcoin in our portfolio, sure. I think you shouldn't, we think of each investment, whether it's liquid or illiquid, as like it's a single independent investment decision, right? And so I think it would be irresponsible to just hold Bitcoin and forget about it, because I'm quite bullish on proof of stake. I think proof of work might not work in the long term. I think it makes sense to actively manage those risks and to invest in their competitors.
So maybe you have
I think,
2 points.
so you have to, I think you should own Bitcoin. Everyone here, if you own any crypto, you should obviously own Bitcoin.
But sometimes, like late at night, you think, am I really earning my fees, or should I just tell my investors buy Bitcoin and like take it easy for a while? I don't know. Sometimes I think about that.
So I tell my investors to also buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
For sure. Many investors cannot. Many endowments or institutions couldn't afford to. This is a problem with VCs in general, which is you're used to having these illiquid assets that don't go up and down every week. So every week you talk to your partners and you do an update on your deals, and if Bitcoin is down 30%, like all your partners start heckling you. And I'm sure that's even much worse at endowment or a pension fund than it is at a VC firm where we take much more risk. So I think there's value for many investors in investing in someone that can do that for you and can manage that.
Are you guys still looking at a lot of, I think that's a good segue into where value is captured, right? Are you guys looking at a lot of protocols and infrastructure type projects?
Well, you said the picks and shovels. What's the difference? Is that the same thing?
I feel like picks and shovels is a bit more like standard business models that make a lot of sense. Like they capture a lot of transaction, or they're going to sell services to XYZ, right? Protocols are a little bit different, right? It's like networks and understanding where the value captures. Is it going to be equity? Is it going to be token? Is the team going to get bought out like Starkware? Like what?
Yeah.
Where's the logic behind that sort of, where we spend a lot of time thinking?
So what I think about this is I hate it. So I like apps. I mean, my biggest investments were Uber, Airbnb, and Pinterest in terms of return. And when it gets into it, and that was before when I was a VC, I love the sexy apps. Like I like the Ferrari, not the transmission. And so we now have incredible people on our team that we just merged with another fund. These guys are, I mean, I think they also love the Ferraris, but they get pretty excited about the really geeky stuff. So they care about that. But ultimately, we have to be able to use this for more than money, or else, again, we should just be buying Bitcoin and taking time off. So I don't know. You guys probably have much better answers for this. But one more layer, one protocol, and I'm going to go crazy. Like, right? It's just, they're just, we need some apps.
Right, you guys are a venture fund looking at like a 10-year horizon, right? Are you looking at any models outside of traditional equity?
Outside of traditional equity.
Well, like equity deals in crypto projects. Are you doing tokens? Are you doing?
We have actually recently made publicly traded tokens on the OTC market.
Oh, okay.
And we think kind of similar veins as a long-term bet. Still, I mean, there's a 10x opportunity. We would still hold those tokens and liquidate it if needed, but
Are you looking at these new protocols? Are you looking at this DeFi category?
mostly, I guess our thesis is more around financial infrastructure and services tools, so.
One of your 5 theses?
But more specific to crypto.
Yeah, we're still quite bullish on infrastructure. I think what we're doing is reporting money and onto the internet, and reporting the financial system onto the internet. And I think the tools and protocols that enable that will have significant value and will accrue a monetary premium and become like money. And we'll take a chunk out of the monetary premium that is gold or the US dollar or real estate or artwork or watches. And there'll be multiple of those, and it won't just be Bitcoin. And low-level infrastructure that's used, and that's important, like gas or oil for the digital crypto economy, will accrue a lot of value. I can't say that for sure. I think it's a security.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm also not the moderator, so I don't want to jump
Yeah,
in.
go ahead.
Well, why do you say that there'll be, all along today, people have been saying there'll be many winners, and it's almost like a non-controversial statement. Like, and do you mean many winners in the store value game? Because it's quite clear to me there's going to be one winner, and there only can be one winner. I don't understand how it's a non-controversial statement to say that Bitcoin and BCH will both win, for example, right? I don't know, I just think that's interesting. Maybe that's for a different panel, but you say it as if it's a given. And you also say proof of work is given to be a problem, and I'm not sure I agree with that at all either. So.
I don't think those were. I think those are both controversial statements.
Okay.
That I hold.
I
think there's probably power laws in all this, of course.
Yeah.
But when I say multiple winners, 5 to 10 is still a great outcome for VCs or for investors, I think. And if it's one, it's not predetermined that it's Bitcoin.
Isn't it?
I don't think so, no.
What's the bet? You guys are making, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go too deep into.
I mean, if it was, Bitcoin would be at 5 trillion value today. So I think there's about 4.9 trillion likelihood that it's something else, or it could be the next. Bitcoin could grow into it, but it could be something else entirely.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. So just earlier in the hallway today, somebody came up to me, welcome back, what's going on in the US? And I was like, the landscape's really different, it's very venture. And he's like, oh yeah, I heard it's all about STOs. That's not what I've been seeing, right? I'm wondering if you guys have spent some time looking at security tokens, or the landscape there.
We did one last year. We did Nexo. Has anybody here heard of Nexo? It's funny, like, it was one of the best performing coins last year because it just stayed steady all year. So they took a bunch of money. Yeah. I said to me that'd be funny, but it turned back. But they took a bunch of money and then they loaned it out for interest. And they paid dividends. They paid 30% of their profits. And we've gotten a dividend. We made a bunch of money off of them. It's the only security token I think we've done. And it's fantastic. Everything else I've seen, I'm not interested.
What about all these platforms? Are you guys looking at any of that stuff?
We've looked at a handful because one of my partners is known for security token thesis. His name's Steve Nikian, and he's a professor at University of Oregon. And there's a lot of gimmicks, I think, a lot of players, or I guess builders trying to do something, but at the end of the day, I think, in my opinion, it's not a technological play. It's more of a regulatory arbitrage, as well as can you just bring in all these like real estate or like any real world assets that can be tokenized. So we are actually making one investment that's doing middleware for kind of token offerings. So
Well, that's interesting. What's that?
I can share later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm quite skeptical of STOs
Yeah.
and security tokens in general. I think the most important value of blockchains, of tokenization, is you have this web digital native financial system, and as soon as you have to tie it back to the existing financial system with a real world asset, you're decentralizing settlement, but you're not decentralizing execution, and you lose a lot of the benefits of decentralization. So I think maybe 5 to 15 years from now, security tokens and real world assets will be tokenized, but maybe not in the way we think about it now, or maybe not with the existing infrastructure that's being built for it. But certainly the Nexo is something that interests me, or the type of thing like Nexo, something that is a security under many definitions, that pays dividends, that has cash flows, but is fully digital native. Unlike many of these exchange tokens, for instance. That's, I think, amazing, because I think ERC20s and tokens, they're a new form of equity, and they're an innovation on this. Equity has not really been innovated in maybe 100 or 200 years. But that is not what I would call, putting houses on a blockchain or watches or something like that.
So another interesting thing I see then outside of security tokens is big players entering or sort of overlapping in crypto. So you have JPM, you have, I guess, Facebook and all the rumors around it. Do you guys have any ideas there? Because I sort of look at it like it's a consumer movement, right? And I think those are really, really important experiments. But was wondering what your thoughts are. Is it good for crypto? Is it bad for crypto? No idea?
I get bored by that stuff. I mean, a big bank getting into crypto, I just want the bankers to die, right? That's all I want is for them to die. And if they want to do crypto before they die, that's fine. But as long as at the end they're dead, then I'm happy, right? So, but with Facebook, it's a little more interesting. Telegram is super interesting, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an investor. I think it's fantastic, and anybody invested in it is probably brilliant. But it is, I think, super cool. I don't know what Facebook's doing exactly though, and I'm not sure Facebook knows exactly what they're doing yet either. So, yeah.
There's been a lot of rumors. I mean, Alex, do you want to talk about any of this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the rumors that have been in the press are that Facebook is doing a stablecoin and using it for remittance purposes, and as part of their sort of general trend of pro-privacy and unifying Facebook Messenger and Instagram and WhatsApp into this one unified messaging service that will one day look like WeChat or Kakao, WeChat, that has payment built in natively. I think these are quite exciting. I'm cautiously optimistic though. Crypto is different from, I think, the internet in the 90s in that we have, there's the technology, the infrastructure is here today for everyone in the world to own a cryptocurrency because everyone has a phone and they can just, if Facebook just gave out a Facebook coin today, everyone would own cryptocurrencies. And that's quite powerful. It could be pretty transformative. It could not be though. I mean, they could make it very permissioned and bundle it, and it could be this weird stable coin that is not decentralized at all.
Well, of course it won't be decentralized. If you use Facebook,
It might be.
If they do a stablecoin or any kind of, and use it to buy drugs, what do you think is going to happen? Right? I mean, of course it's not going to be any.
Yeah. I mean, I would.
It's just they're going to water this stuff down till it's not interesting anymore, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I think that's the downside. Okay.
It's a negative to crypto.
What about Korea? Like we were talking about earlier, I cannot stop making money from Korean projects. I swear to God, anybody can launch anything there, and it'll make money for investors. What's up
It's
with
a
that?
unique market out here. I mean, I think the Bitwise report sort of shed a lot of light in the U.S. for transparent
What
data.
percentage of Koreans hold crypto?
I actually don't know.
It's like all of them, right?
I think the last estimated number I heard was 30 or 40% of the white collar employees working professionals.
Crazy.
Yeah. So a lot of ways.
That was at the boom.
At the boom. So a lot of the narrative I was telling the Bay in New York was like, okay, just imagine if 30 or 40% of white collar employees in the U.S. didn't pick it today, New York and Silicon Valley, will look very, very different. And Korea is sort of like that in a contained environment.
think
It's
for that
cool.
reason, I think cacao and like what line is doing is fascinating.
What are they doing? They pitched me, and I could not understand what they were actually doing.
They're
What
building
are-
a
yeah.
smart contracts platform.
But see, they told me that too, but then they said it's actually just a value token that can be used as payment on, on the apps that use Kakao. So like they told, and that was like, they said the two things in the same meeting. But this was last year, so have they zeroed in and they're like, an Ethereum competitor now?
I wouldn't necessarily say Ethereum competitor.
I passed on that deal and I should not have passed on it. It didn't matter that the pitch didn't make sense, it's just, it's Kakao, right? But
For us, it's a distribution game. For us,
you
it's,
can't say no to Kakao. You guys can, right?
it's not. I mean, we've met with them long before
Plus
they
you
had
wouldn't
blockchain,
say, yeah.
right?
It's 95% like Koreans literally use cacao like
Yeah.
every day, maybe more. Than
And we're talking about, like, I feel like everywhere I go debate, everyone's talking about mass adoption. And it's like, to me, like, there's 50 million Bitcoin wallets. I have 20. So there's probably like 5 million legit Bitcoin users, right? The opportunity to flip open 4 to 4 million wallets, maybe, right? And sprinkle some crypto and see what they do. Or they
Yeah.
just stake it, sell it, trade it. That's a very important experiment that you can't really do in the US. Which has not going to do that, right? And I think that's, whether it fails or not, whether it goes really well, it's relevant, right?
I'm so excited about Terra. Like, that's one we didn't say no to, and we put as much money as we could in. Terra mass adoption. Being able to use it here to buy stuff with e-commerce at a discount, I think it's going to be massive when I watch it. I cannot wait.
Brian, did you guys look at Terra?
You did?
Okay.
Are you gonna ask me why?
Did you pass? Did we do it?
Alex, you too? No? Is this
Yeah.
too tough of a question? No? Fair game?
I think in general, there's sort of two, in a lot of these Korean projects, it's about, there's distribution on the one hand, and then there's sacrificing decentralization. And both of those projects, when they approached me, had very sort of centralized architectures and schemes. So then I have to go back to Mike's point, which is like JPM coin. Why
Yeah, but
is
it's
it
different.
important?
It's different with Terra because we invested in it. It's
Got
Terra's
it,
super
yeah.
cool.
No, that's a fair
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
You missed it. No, I think one of the biggest differences I see, because I have one foot in the Bay, one foot in Korea, I go back and forth, is every time I go to the Bay, they look at EOS, Tron, these projects. It's not decentralized enough, right? And you come to Asia, and that's where everyone's building on, right? It's just, I think the interests and the needs are just very, very different, right? And Bo, you do, not Bo, Alex, you do a lot of cross-border related stuff. Have you been seeing a lot of that in China versus the Bay?
So generally, I think the stereotype in venture is that the technology risk and innovation comes from the US or Israel, places like that. And then the business model innovation, like WeChat or Tencent or in-game items, comes from Asia, specifically China and Korea, really. And that is true 10x in crypto. The layer ones, the technology we've seen is a lot different than it is, and the sort of decentralized architectures are very different here than they are in the US. But yeah, I mean, the trading, I would say, is a real application of crypto, in my opinion. I think you have to be trading something and holding these things. You're participating in a transfer of wealth in a new financial system. So trading is like part of, you wouldn't trade something if you didn't believe it was at least in some way a store of value. So clearly Asia is the market leader in trading, and it's the market leader in terms of usage of these actual crypto assets. So certainly the apps here, I think, will be more interesting because you guys have the finger on the pulse. But there is a trade-off. It's like many of these applications that we see, like supply chain and putting X, Y, and Z on a blockchain, it just feels like we're 10 years too early.
So last night at dinner, you actually said a quote that I really liked. And I said, well, Asia has a lot of speculation, and I'm not sure if that's good for the ecosystem.
You guys went to dinner last night? I wasn't invited to dinner.
We're doing dinner today, right? And we did dinner yesterday. Today's dinner. Anyway, back to the question.
Yeah.
And you said speculation is a form of trust, right? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, that was good. Yeah, no, I think the game is for these things to be adopted as money, at least one game, to be adopted as money and to be stores of value. There's levels of trust you have and levels of feeling that something is valuable. And maybe the lowest feeling is a lottery ticket. Like, you wouldn't buy a lottery ticket if you didn't believe it had some chance of paying out astronomical returns. And that is a form of trust in what you're buying. And I think that's the first step towards these things becoming, fiat replacements. So it's exciting to see that happening. It's exciting to see all the speculation happening in Asia. Now, obviously, it's very volatile.
Right.
Goes up and down. But I think it's a necessary first step.
Where'd you guys go to dinner?
It is just upstairs. There's impromptu.
This is proprietary.
We love you guys.
Did you
Deals
go
happen.
as well? No, just the two, BFFs over there. All right, that's the.
Wow. We're winding down here. Let's see. What's a good question? Okay, so there's actually a lot of entrepreneurs here, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody at this table sort of has a very different investment thesis that you guys are operating on. What's some advice you have for them? Like, what can they prepare? What can they bring? For you guys to sit down and really work together.
Well, if they're Korean entrepreneurs, like, hey, we're in, right? we have not lost money on a Korean deal yet, and there's some of these deals I was like right on the edge of not doing it. And I'm like, all right, we'll do it, and then like we 20x or 10x. Like seriously, we 8x to it. So yeah, I think that having this market to address as a testing area is fantastic. Like Terra is going to eat everyone's lunch in Korea, and then they're going to expand, and it's going to be massive. And that's a huge advantage, like to have.
So everybody goes from top to bottom.
A small like geographic area where everybody's online, everybody knows crypto. That's wonderful, right? If you're not Korean, or you don't live here, and you better not be American, because I do not, in general, like American deals very much.
Are you still on that page?
Well,
you
it's
tweeted that like a year ago.
And we actually we'll do some, I never do American deals unless we've decided to do a deal, right? In which case, then we make exceptions. We make them all the time. But my official position is we do not do American deals. And part of that is because I want my other American investors to be saying to the SEC, like, this is not right. Like, we cannot take a back seat on regulating cryptocurrencies and keep killing this industry in the US. Like, Asia is surging ahead. And that's a problem for the United States over the long run. And so I think more investors should be balking at what the SEC is doing.
So this might be a little bit controversial, but do you feel like other, peers in this category in the Bay are missing out and not looking at Asia?
Yeah.
'Cause I had a hard time bringing them out here, to be honest.
It is. I've been to Asia. So I had been to Asia maybe 3 times in my life before last year. And now I've been to Asia like 20 times. I mean, seriously, I've been to Singapore 4 times in the last year. I've been to Korea twice, I've been to China, I've been to Hong Kong, I've been everywhere in Asia that matters in crypto. And it's fantastic, right? And Americans are welcome with open arms, they want to address the American market. And you've got these guys in the US, present company excluded, you're here now, these guys in the US almost exclusively, it's like pulling teeth to get them out here. Pantera, agreed to, I think, show up to a FBG event last year, and they just didn't even show up and didn't even tell them they weren't coming. And there's like an empty chair. It's like, why? Why wouldn't Pantera be here all the time? Why wouldn't Polychain be here more? Why wouldn't Andreessen Horowitz? They have a brand new sparkly fund, and they don't want to touch Asia. Well, it's just crazy. So, and as you said, the business model innovation that's happening here is spectacular. So I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Yeah.
What about the two kind of venture crypto native type guys here? What can founders do to work with you guys?
I feel like Alex has something brilliant to say, but
No, I don't. No, I mean, being a crypto entrepreneur is quite difficult because there's no solid footing beneath your feet whatsoever at almost any time. The platform you're building on, the regulations, it's very difficult. So everyone who's doing it, I really applaud and respect. I think for us, we most of the time in Asia, we ask why you need a token for any reason at all. And I would think about that, and if your answer is like liquidity or something along those lines, I would rethink it. And that said, I think exchange tokens and lots of things that don't essentially require a token are still quite interesting. But I would do that. Don't fork other projects, or don't fork other base layers and do like an EOS fork just for your own project, because you lose the security benefits, and it's not really a token. You're not really participating in the crypto economy if you do that.
Wait. You fork EOS with a better EOS, and it can win. You said you like competition.
Oh, sorry. Forking EOS and then building one small app on top. That's the top. Yeah, my mistake. That's the part where I think is a little silly. So try to constrain yourself and figure out whether you need a token.
Cool. 10 seconds left. How can entrepreneurs and other people who are your fans reach out to you? What's the best way? Good.
Come talk to Michael.
Talk to Michael.
I don't like people. I don't like.
Maybe Twitter.
So Ninor and Ninos, raise your hand. They have Arrington XRP cap. Those guys right there love to talk to people. So just they have all the investment authority. So that's who you want to talk to right there.
Brian, Alex. Don't reach out to you. Really?
Twitter is great. I'm
Twitter's
very
great.
active on it.
Not a lot of people on Twitter.
I just followed Mike a few minutes ago, actually. He's very active.
Mike did do that. All right, guys. Oh, looks like we're up on time.
Thank
Thank you.